What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerds Enigma podcast powered by sportsnerds.com. Today with me, I have someone who has quite the resume. I've got Mike Straw from Insider Gaming, among many other things. So here's Mike Straw.
How you doing? You're plugging me quite the
You've got a
resume.
lot.
That's one way to put it.
You've
That's
got a
one
lot to
way.
plug, and that's why, bringing you on today, I'm like, I'm just going to let this dude go through his journey within media and tell me everything, because looking at your resume and everything you do have quite the resume. So you've got a lot you could say.
Oh, without a doubt. And I don't know, sometimes having quite the resume can be a good thing, a bad thing. Me, it's one of
Depending on how
those.
you look at it.
Yeah, exactly. It's how you look at it. And me, it's one of those. I like to do a lot of stuff.
Well, I see it as being, entrepreneur and having a lot of drive and things like that. A lot of other people see it as always on to the next big thing. But, to me, it's more positive.
Exactly. And in this career, there's no big thing.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
It's the stable thing.
That's the way with me. I've got all my stuff going on. I'm just now starting this other YouTube channel. I had a YouTube channel for a while, and then I didn't do anything for years. And I decided I want to get into this. So, I'm trying to figure out if it seems like YouTube doesn't necessarily like small channels. So we're still trying to figure that out and grow this thing, so.
Yeah. Been there. Still there.
Right.
It's like been there. I'm still there.
Well, you're doing pretty well. So just if you can, just take people through, where your journey within media started, for some of the people that want to get into the business or, may want somebody to look up to. And like I said, you have quite the resume. So just take us through the journey of how it all began and where you're at now.
Yeah. So I started professionally. So I got my degree in my bachelor's in journalism. I graduated back in 2013. But I started professionally when I was 19 years old. I was 20 and I got my first job at a newspaper. So I was working while getting my degree, which was nice. It was a weekly beat covering high school sports. And I did that for about 4 years because I loved sports writing. Like my goal was to be originally backpack journalist, traveling across the world, telling stories. When you eventually want to have kids and a family, kind of can't do that.
Kind of puts a damper on things and your dreams kind of go on hold for a while, but it's okay. It's worth it.
Exactly. Especially now, 3 kids, what's 12 years later, 3 kids.
I have 2 myself.
Yeah. So it's right. It goes on hold, but it's okay because I was able to pivot and I started doing like high school sports coverage and telling those stories of these kids that they just love the fact that someone is paying attention and people want to know. So you find out these stories about like this kid, one of these this girl I remember covering, and she had gone through leukemia as a sophomore in high school, came back and ended up breaking the school's scoring record for girls basketball. Like that, to me, like those stories are just incredible things to tell. It's a lot easier to find these positive stories when you're covering high school athletics. So I did that for a while. Moved into then covering, pro sports, covered the NHL for a few years, was a beat writer, credentialed beat writer covering the Buffalo Sabres. I was lucky enough to travel, covering the NHL draft all over the place. And then gaming and technology found me. Always been a gamer since I was a kid, and a spot opened up at a website, FanSided. And I picked up there, originally doing NFL like blogging, and then they were launching GameSided, their gaming vertical. So I put my name in the hat as like, let me be one of the first managing editors, and myself and 2 other guys, Nick and Daniel, were picked to, they liked all 3 of us and they did not want to choose among the 3 of us. So they made us like a 3-headed monster to grow this site. And that's where everything kind of took off. That's where like the gaming side just really exploded. And then I bounced around, stuck with the NHL stuff, but I just kept having more and more fun. And you say my resume is huge. I found myself going, I want to do more. So then I started writing about pro wrestling because I love pro wrestling. If I like it, I can write about it. So I started doing that. I was one of the first like freelance hires for Fightful.com, which has since turned into the biggest, most successful wrestling Patreon with their Patreon service, Fightful Select. I still do, and I started doing work for them. In and out, that gave me the opportunity to cover a UFC event, a pay-per-view as media for the first time, like living out a dream doing that. Getting my first ever feature story in a magazine, like a cover story. I have that framed on the wall next to me. Actually, it's above my shoulder right over there. Like the little frame up there is my first ever magazine story. And I've just bounced, and now I've settled into a nice little niche with games journalism, and a very long-winded answer of the story.
That's
But
what I want. That's good. That's good.
that's kind of where I've gone. I could go even more granular, I guess, but that's kind of what's gone on over the last decade plus. Now I'm 16 years in. 2009 is when I started professionally. I'm 16 years in, which is nuts to think about. And, you know, I'm still enjoying it for the most part. There are ups and there are downs, as you know, with everything you do, especially when you're in an industry as volatile as this, where it's like, I'm going to make a career out of media. And to be fair, I ended up trying to leave it. I got a degree in computer information systems. I got a master's in that to become a developer, a software developer. I did that for a few years. Not really a fan of the software development side of things. Um, I did a lot of project management, and I still do that on the side. I do web development as a side job right now. That was basically my full time to supplement with family. I was a web developer, but even I worked for a lot of startups, and with startups, just like in any industry, you hit walls and layoffs happen, and you're part of them. And it got to the point it's, you know, I'm taking the risk on myself for these next few years before I really have to, you know, see where I'm at.
So, like I said, everyone, don't be fooled. He has quite the resume. He might be humble and might not want to admit it, but he has quite the resume. So, you've also worked with a little with Yahoo Sports and Sports Illustrated too, correct?
Yeah, Yahoo. I did in 2013 and 2014. I covered basically just a columnist type of thing with Yahoo Sports for the Toronto Blue Jays and then the Buffalo Sabres. I was doing that. Sports Illustrated, it was mixed with the FanSided stuff. Basically, my work for FanSided would get featured on Sports Illustrated's website on the homepage of Sports Illustrated, which was really cool. So I never technically worked for Sports Illustrated, but my work appeared on their website, which was always just that nice mix of the fact that FanSided happened at the time to be owned by the same owners. So it
Right,
allowed
and
that
I
nice
write
cross.
for FanSided now too, and I guess even back then, did they still consider themselves a sister network of Sports Illustrated? Because they do today.
Yeah, that started when I was there, like
Okay.
that. So this was what, again, 10 years ago. That's when that all started to kind of percolate and everything there.
Right. So I first discovered you on Sports Gaming Online, and funny story, you know, I write for FanSided and I write for Athlon Sports and things now. And a year and a half ago, I wanted to get into like I've always done game reviews, and I've been a gamer my whole life, and it was something I've always had an interest in. So I wanted to get into writing. I wrote a little bit in college, and you know, now I'm a journalist, and I take it, you know, really serious. Now I didn't really take it serious. I just did it as kind of a hobby in college, but now. So I contacted Sports Gamers Online, and I'm not going to mention any names, but I talked to them, and they wanted to, you know, they let me accept a position to write with them. But when it came down to it, I decided, you know, for what they needed, I couldn't really give them at the time, so the timing was kind of bad.
Yeah.
But that's where I first discovered you. I want to say, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Does that sound about right? When you were the Sports Gamers
Yeah.
Online, like I said, that's where I first discovered you.
Yeah, I was there from 2016 to 2022. I joined SGO after leaving FanSided. I was working for, then I left FanSided in 2014. Then started working for the Hockey Writers. Became a managing editor at the Hockey Writers after starting there as a Winnipeg Jets beat writer. Then moved to become their first managing editor. I was brought there, but then I had gotten a 9 to 5 that required. I had just gotten my master's and got a new 9 to 5 that just required me to. I needed to do this because, you know, money talked.
Right.
So then I was like, I left it, and then I started to get an itch. I saw SGO was hiring, so I reached out to Curtis there, who's still to this day one of my best friends in this industry, and just asked about, hey, I have this experience. I want to write for you. Like, I don't care what you want to pay. I just want to write. So we worked something out. I came aboard, and within, I think, 3 months, I had that just right into the veins, and I got hooked again on it, and quickly became the managing editor there and helped grow the site. I was there for 6 years, and then I left because I got burnt out. When I left in October of 2022, like, I had broken a lot of stories. I'd broken the Madden, like the return of GM mode to WWE 2K. I'd broken the debut of NHL 3s. The overhaul to the passing game mechanics in Madden a couple years back. I'd broken a lot of stories there, but I was getting so burnt out. I was being pigeonholed as I'm just a games journalist, sports games writer. And for some reason in the gaming industry, sports gamers and sports games were treated as it's coming from a bald man, the redheaded stepchild of the games industry and gaming in general. I mean, we see it everywhere when it comes to awards and recognition, despite sports games being the best-selling games traditionally every year, making the most money out of every game every year for one reason or another. They're still treated as lesser than games, not real games. But I was starting to get burnt out. I was tired of being pigeonholed, so I left. Had no intention. I was steady with my 9 to 5. I was just no intention. And then I ended up seeing Insider Gaming pop up, and Tom Henderson, who I followed for a long time, respected his work and everything like that. And I reached out. I was like, you know what? Let's see what they're doing. Let's see. And I asked him, so I see you teasing. What's going on with this? And he said, we're launching a site. Do you want to have a talk? Talked, just saying, why not? Let's see. And it turned into, I came aboard as just a writer. And within months, myself and my co-editor, Grant Taylor Hill, became senior editors of the site there. So it's just, it hooked me. It gave me that opportunity to get back to covering the industry as a whole. And again, telling stories, which is always what I love to do. Find whether they're good or bad stories. I want to tell stories people need to know about. And now I've been able to do that. And I've been there for just over 2 years now. November of 2022 or January of 2024 is when I really got the ball rolling. So just over 2 years.
Recently I've watched a few of those podcast episodes, and it's done really well. I really enjoy it. But, going back to Sports Gamers Online, when I started seeing you do the game reviews and things, you were an inspiration to me to later on down the road to, want to reach out. But like I said, the timing was off. And for me, I kind of stay within a certain area when it comes to games. I like sports games and games like God of War, Grand Theft Auto, but I really don't branch out too much, as far as some other sports games that they wanted me to cover, such as golf or maybe some, let's just say, skateboarding games, for example. So I didn't feel like I could really contribute 100% to some of the things that they were asking for at the time. So which led me, to kind of resign from that position.
Yeah. And it happens for me. Luckily, the niche games like that, and golf, not niche, but skateboarding and lacrosse, right up my alley. That's where like everybody wants to cover the Maddens and the NBAs and, but me, it was, all right, I got NHL. We had our Madden and NBA expert. We had Curtis, we had Chris, like we had the two, and then it was me, and then the staff of writers. But for me, it was like give me the obscure sports games. They're fun. Those are the games I usually enjoy the most. Granted, I've played some real duds. Right. Oh my God, I had to review some real bad games, like a snowmobile game that was...
Which makes it difficult if you're really, you could be interested, but if you're really not that interested in a game, that's, like I said, for me, it made me feel like I can't give you what you need with this game because I am not all in with this. So I really have nothing to offer.
In a way, yes. And I learned kind of early on, the best reviews come from the people. If you're reviewing a game, and this can be advice for anybody, the best reviews often come from those who have no dog in the fight.
And that makes sense because then you don't get biased. You get an honest opinion of the game itself.
Yeah. Like, sure, you'll get the reviewers. Like, there's some great people who do like 30-40-minute dives onto a game and nitty gritty, but the average player doesn't care about all that. They want to know, is a game fun? Does a game look good? Which that's a whole nother debate I can have about visuals, but is it fun? Is it deep? What's the price? Like, is there something that'll keep me hooked for more than a week? And that's kind of where my mentality with things started to go. Like, I like to do my reviews. If I can't explain it to you in less than 5 minutes, then it's too much.
Right.
You should be able to know within 5 minutes of me talking about a specific game, whether or not that's something you should invest 70 plus dollars in for the most part now. So it all depends. Some people just, if they're not invested, they know they're bored. They can't really give an honest opinion of what they think. But while others, it just all depends on the mindset of just kind of what you're looking for and what you're looking to try and get out and give out of whatever you're writing about. And that goes not even just with game reviews, but with everything.
Right. So we'll get back to some gaming too, because I also want to talk to you about some, the simulator games and microtransactions and things like that. We'll touch on those a little bit, but I wanted you to tell me about, Amazon reaching out to you for the Madden documentary and how that all came about.
That one, yeah, that one came out of nowhere. I got an email just from a production company, a production assistant saying, "Hey, we saw a few things you did on Madden over the years. Can we talk?" Sure. I will never say no to talking about anything. And they showed me what they wanted to use, and they just said it's just going to be a small, like they asked for permission to use a few things. Going back to my time at SGO, the SGO stuff, I gave them permission if they got permission from them, because technically they own it. I can't give them permission for work that I did at an outlet I'm no longer with. So they reached out. I don't know what they ended up going on that one, but the stuff at Insider Gaming, because I'm currently there and it's mine, I was able to easily talk to my boss and said, "Hey, they just want to use it. It'll just say Insider Gaming in the credits. I don't want anything for it for what they used. I don't need anything for it. To say my work was featured in an Amazon documentary. Cool." And it was literally just, "We want to use this. Here's the section we want to use. We'll let you know if we actually go forward with it." And they sent the paperwork and signed it off. So it really wasn't like this. It came out of nowhere, but it was cool. Like, I think I'm in there, my work, and it's on the Madden extension that are currently in negotiations. They still haven't agreed on an extension of the deal that comes up as of when we're talking, in a year or so. But it was literally just a piece of, "Hey, it's running out. What's going to happen?" Because they got to make a decision. And only 15, 20 seconds of my voice is in there, but it's still, my voice and my work being shown to the world. So little things like that are just, notches in the belt, just to say, "Hey, look what I did."
Like I said, it all comes back to that impressive resume that you're so humble about.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the bragging. I don't know. I think that might just come from how I was. It's like,
Sure.
okay, good for you. You want a cookie? Like, that's just not how I was raised, because my parents did good to kind of celebrate if you did something well, like, you did something well. It was more so once I hit the working world of like, no one cares. Just do your job and move on to the next thing. Like, it's no praise for when you do something well, but immediate attacks when you do something wrong.
Sure.
Like, and that's it, you get that beat into you over the course. I mean, working in newsrooms, like, that's just what it is. Even younger, like earlier, like when I first started doing games writing and sports writing, it's like, if you do something right and it goes well, you very little get the pat on the shoulder. And that's just kind of how I've gone. It rubs people the wrong way, admittedly, that I'm just like, don't brag, just do your job. Like, that's part of your job. Okay, good for you. The only time I get braggadocious, I guess, is when someone tries to attack my credibility.
Sure. Right.
That's when I get really, really angry. And it's happened. Like, I've had my ego knocked a couple pegs every now and then, but it's when people say, like, I make things up, or, you've never been right about anything. Yeah. That's when I get really defensive. And then I just have to drop receipts. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I made this up, drop an exclusive that came accurate. Made this up, drop the exclusive." Like, okay, sure.
But in the end, it seems like when you have those people, it kind of helps you in the long run, because, like I say, I'm on TikTok and I do really well on TikTok, and I've had thousands of views on my videos. I play, current games, retro games. We talk about them and all that good stuff. And you have your trolls that want to get on there and say things and call people out and all that. But I think that really, for me, it really helped me in the long run when I go on to different ventures and things of doing things my way. And you may have the trolls saying, calling you out, commenting or whatever. And it just, I couldn't care less now. I don't respond to that. So in the end, I think, they don't know it, but it's more beneficial to you than they think it is for your professional career.
Yeah, it all depends on what they say.
Right.
Sometimes, like, I have some good friends who they are just the target of some of the most vile behind a keyboard type, and just some of the worst things you can say to another person that you have no idea who they are.
That's like for me with my, my articles and things at Athlon. I've never used message boards, but they suggested that I post them on message boards. And some of the things that you see, like I said, I've never used message boards, but some of the vile and things you see comment wise on there for you just trying to spread the word about things going on with the team that you're covering is insane. But
Yeah,
like I said, just
that
learning to
doesn't
not
matter.
respond to that.
It's so hard. I'm bad with it. I try and get better. I need to not. I have a problem, admittedly, where everybody I meet, I feel like I need to be friends with.
Mm-hmm.
If I meet you or if I interact with you, I have to not be a people pleaser, but just it bothers me if we don't get along. In the gaming industry over the last couple years, I've had people in this field try and attack my integrity.
Right.
And like talk down about the work I do or just push off the work I do. Is like I've had people, an editor-in-chief of a prominent gaming website. I'm not going to name the name, but people who know me know exactly who I'm talking about. Or who follow a prominent gaming website try and accuse me of intentionally like breaking media embargoes, knowingly and intentionally breaking media embargoes, which is something that in this end I hate with a passion that people do, and they do it all the time and get slaps on the wrist. And I never do. I've never once broken like a media embargo that I've agreed to. I've gotten information that was under embargo to other people. Yeah, of course. That's how a lot of people get their information. They get stuff that you get told things you're not supposed to know. That's kind of how exclusives and scoops work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I've posted it. Yeah, I got the scoop. Sorry that like you sure maybe you knew about it, but you couldn't write anything about it. I wasn't under any sort of agreement. I never talked to the publisher. I get them from elsewhere. So, and it's just people that kind of try and just want to tear competition down rather than, rising tide lifts all boats type of thing. They want to just anchor everybody down except them. And that's when I started to go, you know what? Screw other people. People who like me will like me. People who don't. Do I rub more people the wrong way than I do like? Yeah, I do, just because of the fact of, I've hit the point where I don't care
And when you reach the
anymore.
point of realizing that you are who you are, you can't please everybody. Your life goes a lot more smooth when you realize that.
Yeah, I just hate it took until my mid-30s to realize it.
Right. Yeah, it took me till 30 or after to realize a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly. And it sucks. It's like I wish I would have known this 8 to 10 years earlier,
Right.
and then how different my path would have been.
Right. So you watch Eric Rayweather, and I watch him a lot too. And you've provided him with some certain scoops and things as far as college football and Madden too, correct? I'm trying to get him on the podcast in the future too, but you've provided him with information too, right?
Yeah, mainly it's stuff that I've put on. He's asked, hey, if you're dropping anything, could I get like a little bit of heads up to get a video, and then I'll post it a little bit after you. Like, yeah, just post. This is what I'm working on. Don't post it until say like an hour or so after I post the story. I need to let my stuff breathe.
Right.
And he agrees to do it. Admittedly, he's one of the people, Eric. We've talked. We are colleague. I've never met him in person yet, so I can't call him a friend yet. I would love to meet him in person and call him a friend, but good colleagues. But admittedly, it was at the time where I was very defensive of a lot of things I was doing. I'm like, why are you stealing my work? Why are you not giving credit? Blah, blah, blah. And I would just get pissed at anybody using anything I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And I quickly realized, like, don't do that. Like, don't be that was me being a jerk. So I mean, I know when I when that hit, that realization is like, all right, I'm gonna reach out, apologize, and hopefully he understood where I'm coming from and that it's just me being a jackass and I don't want to be that way. And thankfully he did. And yeah, we have a solid relationship now, and he does great work. Like there's a lot of people in this space that I'm happy to call colleagues and friends, like that have supported my work, have questioned my work, and then realized where I'm coming from because they were open to actual conversations rather than attacking, which you probably know as well as I do. Like we're in an era where it's not about wanting to have a conversation to get the sides of the other person. it's about attack.
Right.
It's one thing if you
Right.
are being completely terrible, you know, racist, bigot, whatever it is. Like you're being a terrible, like no excuse for your behavior type of person. But there's a lot of like things where it's like, okay, you just don't like my opinion.
Right.
And to see like the anger that comes in, even on things like games and sports, it's just like, what are you doing? Why are you like this? Like, stop.
And
Talk
see,
with
that's
me.
like going
Stop.
back, right? That's like going back to, TikTok as far as posting games and just playing games. And if I have an opinion that this is one of the worst games of all time, and even if I say in my own opinion, they will absolutely attack you. And that does bother me. But like I said, I've learned to not worry about that because I'm the type of person we can agree to disagree and absolutely still be friends. So if everybody knew that and could act like that, it would be a heck of a lot better place.
Yeah, that's exactly. And it's just, I feel now this is one of those things where whenever I say it, people will go, why do you feel that way? Because it's helped you get to where you are. Social media was the worst thing in my mind to ever be created.
No, I
Like,
agree. I agree 100%.
admittedly, it has gotten me to my career the way it is. Like without it, I don't think I would have anything. Maybe in a way, maybe the newspaper I worked for at the beginning of my career would still be around, so I'd have that.
Which I
But
miss. I miss those paper copies of things. Like I'm an old school type guy,
100%.
so I miss the paper copies and paper trails.
100%. Since I was like 9 years old. Like I was
I
9.
love talk radio.
Yep, I still listen to it.
Right,
9
my
years
wife
old though,
hates
I
it.
used to make my own newspaper when I was a kid. It was on
Mhm.
like standard printer paper and whatnot, but I would make my own paper and then hand it out when I was like 9, 10 years old. So in
Mhm.
case you were wondering how long ago I knew I wanted to do this for a living.
Right.
But yeah, like social media, it's just because it allows some of the worst people to have a voice and attack you without any repercussions.
It gives everyone the courage to be behind a keyboard and spew hate that they would never say to someone's face.
Never. Not once have I had anybody, and even the people I know have said things about me, and I've seen them in public. Not once have they ever said it to my face. Nor will they. And that is what it is. That's just how it is. I have had people, and it happened this past Monday, and it's been admittedly like a rough patch the past like month or so. And I saw somebody who kind of overheard me talking to a friend who was at Monday Night Raw this past week, and overheard me. And then as I'm walking by, he stopped me and he realized who I was and thanked me for my work and said he's followed me for years and he really appreciates what I do. And I'm sitting there like, this is somebody in my city, in my hometown, that saw me, recognized me from Twitter and from Insider Gaming and SGO over the years, and took the time to like thank me for the work that, to me, if I die tomorrow, like my work didn't really change anything, but in the moment that it made somebody happy, like that made my day. Like the biggest smile on my face the rest of the night as I was walking out of the arena and driving home.
Right. I mean, it makes it all worthwhile. And, I'm the type of person, I don't like to rain on whatever rain on the parade that my friends are doing. I think we should be supportive. And I love when people, do their own thing. That's why I love bringing on guys such as yourself that have, like I said, done so many things and just loves what they do, has a passion for what they do. Like I love to see that with people.
Yeah, exactly. And I want, that's all at this point. What I'm trying to do is like, I'm going to these events, right, coming up. There's a lot of gaming conventions or events coming up that I'm going to do, and I'm going to seek out the people who I've had problems with, whether problems that maybe I started, which it's just to either apologize to their face or find out what what I did to upset them. Not saying I want to be friends with everybody, but I'd like to know, like, what did I do?
Right.
And it's more, it's just a case of I don't want that sitting in my head of like, did I do something? Granted, again, I'm not going to please everybody, but if I did something that really like offended or upset somebody, I'd want to know.
Right.
That's just, you don't grow unless you learn. And
Right.
that's just kind of how I am.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about are you a fan of GTA 6? Two-part question. Are you a fan of GTA 6? Well, I mean, it's not out yet, but the GTA series altogether.
Yes.
Okay, so my question for you is we've had this discussion, several times at work and things like that. With games like GTA 6 coming out, whenever we get an official release date, we've been waiting on it for years. We waited for years on Red Dead Redemption. Do you think it's beneficial for games to wait, years at a time before coming out? Because it seems like the games that do, especially games with Rockstar, they're great games. They sell really well, but then you have games like Madden and things like that, or NBA 2K that are littered with microtransactions and comes out annually that do well, but not in the space that a game like a GTA 6 or Red Dead Redemption 2 does. So do you think it's beneficial for that gap in between for the
N-
gaming industry?
No,
Or maybe not that long of a
not
gap?
that long. They'll make like it depends on the game too. Like a
Mhm.
Grand Theft Auto 6, when that comes, that's going to make the most money out of any game released.
Right.
I mean, I don't think it's got a ways to go to catch up to like a Minecraft right now, but it's going to.
I think so
It's gonna
too.
blow. It's gonna blow GTA 5 out of the water. It's because of the anticipation at this point, but that's also because Rockstar has earned that right to
Mhm.
be a studio with these highly anticipated games. You wouldn't see, say, a Call of Duty. I don't want to go there. Maybe like Battlefield, for example. It's been a few years since the last Battlefield. If they were to say we're not coming out until 2027, 2028, you're not going to see that kind of hype and response for a Battlefield game. If EA were to come out and go, Madden is taking 2 years off,
Mhm.
nah, I don't think you get that kind of hype. Maybe. I mean, but you did get it with college football,
Right.
right? Like college football was the first game of like 11 years,
Mhm.
sold nearly 2 million copies of deluxe editions of the game, which I have my own thoughts on these $100 pre-orders and stuff. Like I'm a
Right.
firm believer, do not pre-order modern games. Do
Mhm.
not buy deluxe editions of games, because what we're seeing now with games like WWE 2K25, you're getting broken games that are just riddled with messes, unplayable in a lot of ways, and they got more money for that purchase.
Mhm.
But college football came out, and that was the most successful, like it's the best-selling sports game in American history.
And what's
Uh,
crazy is I remember when it did come out, I remember having a discussion with friends saying that I think they came out and thought that the game itself would do 30% of what Madden does. And I'm like, that's insane. Absolutely not. There is no way. And I think they are highly underestimating what this
yeah,
game will do.
the EA internal estimates, and I had reported on this, was about $200 million in revenue. They blew that out of the water before the game even fully released.
Mm-hmm.
Like they got so much money that you're seeing, because now they have the NIL deal. Like every player selected for the game got $600 roughly,
Mm-hmm.
and a copy of the game. What we're going to see now is the organization, the group representing these players, is going to go back and go
Stepping
like,
in and trying to up the
they
ante
need
a little
more,
bit.
which they
Right.
should. Like
Right.
you
Because they
see,
can
like
afford to
that was
do it. I
based,
mean,
and that was the money based on estimates that everybody had, so it made sense. But now you're
mhm.
going to see, all right, get the players a bit more, get coaches in there, get them paid, get more schools like FCS schools, like eventually in there. Because I know that that's a working plan, is to have real coaches and FCS schools. I don't know how many of them, but some FCS schools in there. I just don't know if that's going to happen this year. I think coaches was the priority. I don't know if
Mhm.
that's going to happen this year, but
I think
you
the
know,
coaches and the high school was the priority this year.
yeah.
But
So
I'd heard too that they would implement, schools like Ivy League schools and things like that. So we'll see. That's one of my hopes for the game. But I love it regardless.
um yeah, so that's my hope. My hope is, yeah, I'd like to see real coaches, and the um I'd like to see the road to glory in a great high school, but in a different way than what it did in NCAA 14, because that was just a stat padding section that really didn't matter much.
Right.
So I'm interested to see what they do there. But yeah, like to go back on the gap thing, sorry, I kind of got off track there.
That's okay.
Uh it depends on the game. Like I think sports games would benefit greatly from a year off cycle.
Mm.
You release a game, say Madden 26 this year. Well, Madden 27 doesn't get a game. Instead, you get a $20 roster update and a couple things. Like give them a premium update. People will gladly pay $20 to get the accurate, not because fans can create classes and rosters and share them and stuff, but to get an official update post free agency or whatever, and then it turns into like the 2027 season update, and then it's updated for the rest of the year, but the game's the
Mhm.
same. And then in 2028, you'd have the game, and every other year we'd have that cycle. Kind of what what we usually get with the UFC games, what we get the PGA 2K games. We get that gap. The problem is that won't happen because of money.
Right.
They print the games, make too much money.
Mm-hmm.
If Madden were to come out this year and not sell at all, then you're more likely to see it. But it's always
That's never
going
to happen, though. Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's always in the top 5 games sold every year. So why pass on that cash cow?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't blame from a business perspective. There's no way to blame them. No, never. You get your money. You get your money. Like money rules all in any form of entertainment or anything kind of businesses do. So it depends on the game, though. Like you can't. GTA is going to be the anomaly. Like a Red Dead was the anomaly. Like Rockstar can get away with it.
I always say everything they put out is mostly golden. I mean, if you go back and look at the library.
Yeah, even with bad,
most of them are great.
Even with bugs, the bugs are funny to where they don't impact the game.
Right.
Like, admittedly, and I admitted this on Insider Gaming Weekly, our weekly show last week. GTA 5, for example, I never finished the story of GTA 5. Once I got to the point where I could play GTA Online, that's all I spent my time in, because that's where I enjoyed the game the most. So GTA 5 story might be this. Everybody's like, you need to finish the story. I'm like, I know what happens. I've watched it. Like you just watch the cutscenes in the full movie on YouTube if you want to do that. But for me, like it's just you brought like Rockstar, yeah, just that library. Like you're still sitting here nearly 20 years later for people just adamant pounding the table for a Bully 2.
Right.
It was in development at one point and then got canned. And I don't think personally we'll see it. But you have any of that hype surrounding if that game ever came? My God.
So are you, speaking of, money and things like that, tell me your thoughts on microtransactions. Do you think they are needed, or do you think there is entirely too many with games like Call of Duty, NBA 2K?
Way too many on the sports games. I'm okay with microtransactions to an extent. Actually, it's not just sports games. Call of Duty is bad.
Right, to an extent. But for me, I also miss, like I said, I'm old school. I also miss the pick up and play. And that's what it's about.
That's my biggest problem. There's no game is pick up and play anymore.
Right.
You can't even just buy a game, pop it in if you still buy physical like I try and do.
I do. I like the hard copy. I'm a hard copy guy.
I couldn't tell.
But yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, my exceptional personality,
But I'm still physical. Like if I can, I get it physical. Plus, you can get games cheaper, like single player story games. I'll wait until I can get it on sale physically cheaper. But my biggest problem is if people want to spend the money, they can spend the money. It's the predatory practices of it.
Right.
When I load into Madden, when I load in NBA 2K, the first thing you are greeted with are my team, ultimate team, my team, ultimate team, my team, my team. Get that out of my face. Get me to the main menu. And if I want to go there, I'll go there. Stop shoving it in my face. Because what it makes me do, it's a big reason I haven't played NBA 2K in 4 years.
I still buy it, but I can't do it.
It's such, they monetize everything to the point. And with NBA 2K specifically, with the city, they made this big thing of like, oh, look, you can walk around now to go talk to your GM in my NBA and blah, blah, blah. And my first thought was immediately, they're going to do this. So then a couple years time, they're going to say, hey, tired of all the walking, pay X amount in VC to fast travel to your GM.
Right.
And that's kind of where it all just sits with me. It's just, they add these features that are there so they can monetize some way to get around them in the future.
See, my wife plays Dreamlight Valley. It's the Disney game on Switch, and I don't know anything about it. I just know of what she plays. But I guess it does have its fair share of microtransactions, but whatever she uses called Moonstones, I think they replace real money for a lot of things that people would desire to have, which, also I think that's a good thing too. But I don't think we'll ever see that getting out of the microtransaction field as much as it is now. I don't think we'll ever go back to how it used to be. I think if anything, it'll get worse.
Too much of a cash cow. Exactly. It'll get way worse before it gets better, I guess.
Right. So a couple more before I get you out of here. Tell me, are you a fan of simulator games? Do you have any simulator games?
A lot.
See,
They're
I have
they're
never.
they are my relaxing type of game, whether it's a city building game,
Right.
a racing game,
So besides back in the day,
management.
Sims, Roller Coaster Tycoon around 1998, I had never played any. But for Christmas, I had researched some things and I was looking for some new games to play, and I fell upon Police Simulator and Farming Simulator. Well, I put those in, and especially Farming Simulator. I think within 2 weeks, I had 60, 70 hours wrapped up in that game. And it was just absolutely insane the amount of time and the amount of things that you could do on that game. So I became a fan of them. And I don't know, the next one that I'll buy, but that's why I was asking what are some of your favorite simulator games?
Farming Simulator is a game where a buddy of mine bought like Farming Simulator 24 about a year ago, a couple years ago. And it's just the game that for a while we were just sitting there, like it's Friday night, everybody's in bed. We don't want to go to bed. It's too early for that. So we just lounge, and the in-game radio station, you're just listening there, you're harvesting, you're fertilizing, you're doing whatever. You're driving around a tractor in the city, seeing how bad you can drive.
Now that's not too good. That's not done very well, but it's okay.
No, but I'm okay with that. Because the main premise of the farming part is the key. But yeah, Farming Simulator is a game. The Police Simulator, we played for a while. It kind of turned us off a little because you can only play with one other friend, and we had like 4 people who had it or 3 people who had it that would be on at a time. And it's like, well, this sucks. Someone's left out. I'm big Roller Coaster Tycoon. I still play. City Skylines, the original one. I don't play City Skylines 2 yet. I have a city that I've been building since 2000, I think like 17. It's still going strong. So Simulator, they're my relaxing game after a long day or long week. I will
an escape.
one up. Exactly, and I can just relax. Like there's a game that came out not too long ago. It was maybe a couple months ago. Trading Card Shop Simulator. It's in early access right now, and you basically run your own trading card store.
Really? I had no idea that even exists.
Yeah.
And that would be something, obviously, I would be really interested in.
And they have their own version of it. You clearly tell it's a parody of Pokemon.
Right.
And they have their own version of that, and you're selling cards, you're grading cards, and they're adding new features to where you can host tournaments. They're making the card game that you're selling cards and packs for a playable game in the game. So there's game like that type of stuff. It's just fun. It's just relaxing. And that's where this era of gaming, like I'm torn on how I feel with this era of gaming. At a high scale AAA level, I think we're in the worst era we've ever been in. At an independent level, we are in the absolute best. It's oversaturated in a way. It's very hard to stand out, but the games that can stand out and find something really do stand out. And 20 years ago, a game like Trading Card Shop Simulator would never have seen the light of day. There's no way. Now, that's just, it's a Tuesday. Like
right. So what are you playing right now? What are some games that you pop in right now?
Actively, I'm playing a lot of Slay the Spire, which is a deck building roguelike game. I'm basically preparing for the second game, Slay the Spire 2, to come out later this year at some point. That's held a lot of my time. Balatro, if no one knows what Balatro is, it's one of the greatest games ever made. It's a poker roguelike video. And the only poker is like you score points by building poker hands, but it's not really a true poker game. You're trying to hit score thresholds, and that game has turned into my, that one more run type of game where I found myself laying in bed playing it, and next thing I know, it's 4 a.m. and I have a kid that wakes up at 6:30. Like,
and then I'm all about that.
And then I'm mad. I'm mad all day. And then the next night I do the same damn thing. Because I can't learn my mistakes on that one. But those are basically the two, like when right now at the end, because it's tough for me to get in to a game. There's certain games I really want to play, like they're on my back catalog, but I know I don't have the time to play them at this moment just because of projects I'm doing and stuff we're working on at Insider Gaming. That takes up my time if I'm not writing. So I try and go for the quick, what can I sit down, grab, play for a half hour and be done with it. And those are two games where I can.
I guess right now I'm waiting on the new wrestling game. Like I still play some college football, and I'm still playing Police Simulator. I played the heck, like I said, Farming Simulator and Hogwarts Legacy. And right now I'm waiting on the wrestling game and MLB The Show because I buy it every year. So we'll see how that goes.
This might be the first year. I haven't bought MLB The Show in a few years because Road to the Show got just awful for me. This might be the year I pick it back up, based on depending on what I see with a couple friends streaming it. But at WWE, I don't know. It's a broken mess right now.
I'm just going to get it just to have something new because my son is slowly starting to get into wrestling. So I want to have something I can relate to him, and we can play that game together.
My boys are hooked on wrestling. My two oldest ones. The baby is 9 months. He can't really be hooked on anything other than bottles. But my oldest is hooked. But his problem is he does not like how the controls are in the 2K game. So he plays his Fight Forever. He plays AEW because the controls are very quick, pick up and play type of game. Game's not that good, but he doesn't care. He's 7. He does.
I was
not
a fan of that one at all. My wife bought it for me.
Either.
I think it was for her birthday or something. Because I'm an AEW fan, more so early on than now. I think it.
Yeah, mine has kind of gone back and forth.
Right. So before I get you out of here, what is one thing that I'm going to try to ask everybody the same question to wrap things up? What is something that you want people to know about you that they may not?
That's tough. Couple things. We'll stick with gaming and wrestling related.
That's okay.
In 2009, for a very short period of time, I was a second ranked player in NHL 09 on Xbox 360. On Xbox
there you go. See, that's
number 2. And when I say a short period of time, I mean like a day.
Right.
But I was there. I challenged the number 1 player in the world in online versus, and this was before Ultimate Team and all that stuff. So it was just online versus play. I challenged the number 1 player in the world, got smoked. Like, you know the scene in Space Jam where the scoreboard's going up and it says kind of one-sided, isn't it?
Right.
That bad. and then it like hit something where I just started to fall down the rankings. But my highest peak was number 2. The other is I am a trained wrestler. I did training when I was 16, 17 years old, and I did that for a little while. And then I realized quickly I do not have the pain tolerance to be taking these bumps regularly. I'm just going to enjoy it as a fan and maybe get into management type of thing. Like I can do I did one indie show as like a manager where I was like an evil Irish priest.
Really?
Which because I had like this long beard, like Sinister Minister style, and it was so it's those would be the 2.
That's the juicy stuff I like to hear, man. I appreciate it. And like I said, I appreciate you coming on today. It means a lot. Like I said, I discovered you a while back, and you were an inspiration to me to reach out to sports gamers online. And I just, I still watch you today. I appreciate everything you do.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. I appreciate you inviting me on. I was happy to. I love talking about it. I don't like talking about me much.
Right.
So the fact that I actually did this time is like, hey, maybe I'm growing in that sense too. Like I said, I just very kind of keep to myself and here's my story. Here we go. What's next?
Well, I appreciate it. I'd like to do it again soon.
Definitely.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it.
Thank you.